For highways and state lines, this land was shaped by exploration and conflict. Our celebrity historian friend Raffi Andonian is here to help us understand Hernando de Soto's journey through the region, why it mattered then, and how it still connects us today. Hey, Raffi, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, great to be here to talk about what put Arkansas on the map.
Yeah, quite literally, Hernando de Soto put us on the map. Raffi, why did Hernando de Soto want to explore this area?
Think about the broader context in which he is existing and doing this. In 1539 is when there was this famous expedition that we're talking about. But just 20 years earlier, you had the exploration what's known as Florida, La Florida in Spanish, which means flower, a place of flowers. And Ponce de Leon is the first one to explore that region and kind of puts, even that part of the country, the southeastern United States today, for the Spanish to even consider exploring. And then what happens is you have the famous exploration on which Cabezas de Vaca, there you see in Florida on the screen there, the Florida, southeastern United States today. And what happens is Cabezas de Vaca goes along on an expedition that is in the southeastern United States, but not quite where De Soto was. But he does a famous account surviving slavery, ultimately for 8 years, going thousands of miles in captivity, becomes a healer and a trader after being captured in slavery. And that story captivates Spain. So here comes our guy, Hernando de Soto, who has been, in the meanwhile, in the 1530s in South America, while some of this was going on, helping conquer the Incan Empire, the Inca down there, right? And he was second in command there. And the reason that matters is because when they're conquering the Inca, is that there is a ransom by the Spanish that is demanded from the Inca that gets them treasure, that is gold and silver, that is equal to half a century worth of all the gold and silver in all of Europe at that time in one hit in Inca. Can you believe that? So understanding that and seeing the riches of Mexico is what drives Hernando de Soto here to say we should go in the interior of the southeast of what we see as the southeast, in the interior of this area that we haven't seen yet, because there's got to be another place with all those riches. And this guy, having experienced what he did in Inca, in the context of that generation, having this element of discovery and adventure, is how he's going to decide to actually come to this region.
Wow, that's fascinating.
That's right.
I love that.
Now get this though, does he find the treasure? He does not. It turned out to be a failure. He's here for 3 years in this area, spends more time in Arkansas, what is today the state of Arkansas, than anywhere else during that expedition, and actually ends up dying during the expedition here in Arkansas, believe it or not, in Lake Village. Some people debate and say it might be in Louisiana. There was some concern that his body would be desecrated because of some of the negative relations he had with natives, and so he was dumped into the Mississippi River, so we don't know where his body is. Now, speaking of treasure, though, look what I brought here. This is from Spain. I went to the Royal Mint in Spain, in Madrid. This is actually something I got while I was over there. And this is a commemorative euro in silver, made in silver. And you can see the images of the conquistador, especially here in the red here, to commemorate, from the Spanish perspective, the exploration from their perspective, the New World, including what we're talking about here. So this stuff still exists as an ongoing and helps shape identity in Spain, because I got this last year.
Wow, that's amazing. Yep. Why is his expedition significant?
Well, put Arkansas on the map, right? It's the first time you have any European documented to be in Arkansas that we know of. First time actually the Mississippi River is even crossed by a European that we know of, which is really, a pretty big moment if you think about it. It's the first time that we have names, the indigenous names of towns and leaders recorded, because it's his expedition. That's first here. And it's the first time we have any account of the cultures that are here, the already existing indigenous cultures that are here. So those are all things that we still use. Also, of course, maps a lot of the flora, fauna, and the landscape here that the Spanish were really fascinated by, and was very valuable to help map this area out, and hence how we started, right, saying putting this area on the map.
Absolutely. Maybe you could fill us in on this. How can we engage with Hernando de Soto locally in Arkansas, and maybe also like some aspirational things, like if we're ever traveling something to Mexico?
Yeah, well, think about it. Like here in Arkansas, the area where, like I said, his expedition spent the most time, you can go to Parkin Archaeological State Park, which is in the state park system of Arkansas, and you will find there a couple of things. You'll find there a depiction of a 1,000-year-old Native American village that was here at the time that De Soto would have been encountering, as well as discussion of De Soto's expedition that was there. There are debates as to exactly the specific route within Arkansas that he took, so there's some different sites that make some different claims, but we know in some areas, that in a place like that, for example, as well as here in Northwest Arkansas, you go to Fort Smith, we know there was a month-long conflict with local indigenous people there, with the Soto's people, so you can find that there as well. Now, if you go down, you're saying aspirationally,
yeah.
Of course, you know, if you go specifically to DeSoto, you'd have to go to the Inca, you'd have to go to South America,
Yeah.
right? Or you can go, of course, to Mexico, Mexico City to see the Aztec, and the reason that pertains here, although there are different peoples, is the Spanish first encountering the Aztec in Mexico City, and all the treasures that they found there was much of what fueled a lot of the remaining expeditions that they want to do. So it does help contextualize this stuff. And one final thing to consider is there is a book actually called De Soto, the son of the sun. So there's kind of it's because he was seen as the son of the sun, okay? And that book in the 1950s is written from the perspective of a Spanish boy. It's historical fiction, so I wouldn't take it as a primary source.
Sure.
But there's a way you can engage
Yeah.
with the memory, and in there are references to events that took place right here in Arkansas.
That's amazing. Well, the past still shapes the places we call home. History lives on if you just know where to look. Thanks,
That's
Raffi.
right.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.